a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
2020 was the anniversary of several things. There were so many things that had to celebrate that in terms of cult classics and pop culture favorites. However, the Pokémon company will be celebrating their anniversary in 2021, and they have released a logo for the 25th anniversary, and they just said stay tuned. And this just had fun speculating what can we expect at the anniversary, and it honestly just made me spiral. I was like, there's so many things to expect. Of course, we had the first Switch game was released last year around this time in November, and then we had our first Pokemon DLCs ever. They were released not too long ago. One was last month and the one earlier in the summer. And this makes us wonder, are we going to expect another DLC or two? Or are we going to get an expansion pack to the game? Are they going to have an entire expansion? Or are they going to give us a new version of the game? Because every once in a while, every year or 2 years, when a game is released, they would release like an upgraded version of said game. Like there was, for example, Red and Blue. Actually, no, Red and Blue is Red and Blue.
Like a remastered version?
Kind of, yes. So I'm trying to think. For some reason, all of the Pokemon games I've ever played in my life, I just went out of my head. Oh yeah, for example, we had Ruby and Sapphire. And then 2 years later, we get Emerald. So it's kind of like a revamped version of the first one with some extra added things, and the story is slightly changed. So that's kind of a thing they do. Or they would give us a completely new game. But
do you think that the development cycle for a new Pokemon game is a bit too soon? I mean, the pattern usually is 2 years and a half, roughly.
That's the thing. It's going to be 2 years next year. The game came out in 2019. 2021 is the year.
Okay.
However, but with the introduction of DLCs and expansion packs, that's a question. Are they just going to give us another expansion pack or DLC, or are they going to go just like to the old cycle? What is the new thing? Because the Switch completely changed everything. This makes you wonder, because they do have some small, I want to say mainline games here and there, like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which is very different than the mainline main storyline games. So are they going to introduce something like that? Because they have done that throughout the year as well, in addition to the main games. So should we expect more of these games? But then again, take the pandemic into consideration. Did that also push down the timeline, the usual timeline as well? I don't know, honestly.
Shouldn't it also not be limited to the fact that it's only about video games? Maybe there's a new, deck builder being released, or maybe a hint to a new generation that will be linked to the upcoming anime, if there is ever one, and even the upcoming game that they're working on,
Exactly. Could literally be anything.
Detective Pikachu #2.
Detective Pikachu 2, why not? And also there could be just simply merch, just an addition to something bigger. But I know Pokemon, they usually go completely all out. Not usually around the anniversary, but then I think they would take this opportunity to announce something big, especially since they've kind of been obviously, quiet, with the exception of talking about the expansion packs.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Let's hope they don't disappoint, This is Nintendo and GameFreak. They sometimes a bit underwhelming, like the Nintendo Direct Mini for some reason. But
honestly, no, I'd say no. They've never been underwhelming. If you're talking about the PlayStation and the State of Play, please stay in your lane.
Well, Sega had its 30th anniversary, and I was like, oh my God, new Sonic. They just came out with the Sega mini Game Boys.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I think
so just don't do that, Nintendo,
it's
please.
It's the pandemic, so I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened this time. But again, I don't expect this out of Nintendo in general when there are celebrations. Even though the Mario celebration was kind of underwhelming, but then again, we're in a pandemic. Otherwise, it probably would have had a proper celebration, a better celebration at least.
Understandable. We'll just have to wait and see. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the acquisition for Godzilla vs. Kong. It might not be going to theaters, but it will be heading to your streams. However, which platform? Who's going to be the highest bidder for this film? Be sure to stay tuned for that and so much more right here on the Afternoon Cut-Up.
Pulse 95.
Seems this year has proven to a lot of production studios out there that maybe theatrical releases isn't the most lucrative option at the moment. So it seems that the next best option, besides video on demand, is selling the rights of stream to any of the big platforms out there, namely Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon Prime. A while back, we were talking about MGM and their little under the table bidding as they've offered any streaming platform to buy the license to stream the upcoming James Bond film, No Time to Die.
The one they pretended was not really happening, but it was actually happening.
$600 million. That's a bit of a, I don't know, it's too greedy on their end, to be honest. And it obviously never came into fruition. No streaming, every streaming platform backed off. But it seems that there is a reasonable new offer for the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong, as there is a couple of streaming services bidding to get their hands on it. And recently, it seems that Netflix has failed to bid on it after HBO Max made a better offer, one that is even higher than $200 million.
Actually, I'm going to say that this is not HBO Max making a better offer, because I have read several articles and they said that it's actually Warner Media who blocked it. They said, no, Netflix, you're not going to give it to Netflix. Because
what's going on here?
Who owns HBO? The same parent company that owns Warner Brothers.
Oh, all right. How did I not know that? I mean, I did, but I never really connected the dots that way.
They were basically, the fact that they blocked it is just like them saying, no, we're good in-house. We don't need you guys, basically. Obviously, it's probably going to involve some sort of transaction. But again, it's going to be in-house rather than giving it to somebody else outside for them to benefit from it as well.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. Honestly, first of all, I commend them for actually thinking about, or at least considering taking it to streaming services, because I think we've had a gripe here on the Afternoon Karak where we keep on talking about how production companies just refuse to give their rights to all these big blockbuster movies that everybody will, not everybody, but at least 90% of the entire world, you can actually safely say that 90% of the entire world will not be able to see it on launch day, even if they keep on pushing it further and further into the year.
Yeah.
Or beyond that. Because when the pandemic does not have an expiry date, there's no tunnel at the end of, there is obviously a light at the end of the tunnel, but we don't know how long the tunnel is. We don't know when the vaccines are going to come out. We don't know when a lot of these cases are going to calm down in a lot of countries, because it is taken into consideration a lot of governments. It's not just, we're just going to involve ourselves with the U.S. government. It's going to be the U.S. government, all the governments in Europe, and all across Asia. That is so many countries and territories to take into consideration. So just take it to a streaming service. But I still don't think that HBO Max is a smart idea, because HBO Max is exclusive to the United States.
Yeah.
It's not available outside a lot of countries and a lot of territories. I believe Apple TV has rights to some HBO things, and I believe OSN in the Middle East and MENA region just in general has some rights to HBO as well.
It should be more accessible worldwide.
Exactly. So Netflix would have been a better option, but we don't know what's going on behind the doors and what's happening, beneath the tables. So they know, obviously, and maybe that's what they decided is a better idea. But at the end of the day, at least they're not insisting on an actual theatrical release only.
So definitely a big shift to see this new way of just this alternative of, no more theatrical releases or video demand.
Yeah.
There's now the ability to just license out your movie, and in a way you could break even and profit out of your own budget that you worked on the film.
They probably could, especially taking the pandemic into consideration. This is the only way, in my opinion. That is the only way.
Exactly, to survive until things get back to normal.
Exactly. Coming up next is the sports headlines, and stay tuned for more crazy stories. Namely, Obama has given the green light for Drake to play him. We don't know why, but apparently that's happening. Stay tuned for that. And we're going to be also talking about the Cyborg movie that might be happening without Ray Fisher.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
You know, for a while, the Justice League movie has always had some sort of controversy, especially with the fact that the film has been reshot and it had the directors from, we had Zack Snyder, he kind of went out, then we had Joss Whedon, and, you know, for as much as we try to avoid talking about Justice League, it seems to always come back, because DCEU has confirmed that they are developing Cyborg. It's been sort of in their, you know, kind of like their plan for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it seems this time they're shuffling out the lead role, Ray Fisher. He seems like he's not going to be playing Cyborg anymore, and maybe it has to do with the fact that he kind of, you know, he was being a little preachy in public this past year regarding some of the grueling experience he had during the production of the film, and how Joss Whedon was sort of the director tyrant behind all of it, and how the Warner Bros. Producers and the execs have enabled Joss Whedon to be like that. But who knows why this was the case? Because
that's definitely the case. I mean,
I'm just trying to find another reason, but
there is no other reason. Even though Jason Momoa stood by Ray Fisher and said that yes, this actually did happen, but I believe unlike Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher is a newcomer to the entire industry, or at least to the big screen, as in he's not an A-lister just like Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck. So he was not getting the same treatment apparently from Warner Brothers, and that just tells you that it's unfair in Hollywood. It's really unfair, because when Ray spoke up, he was speaking on behalf of a lot of people who probably could not speak up. He was like, I'm going to be the person, I'm going to go head first into this entire battle, knowing that his armor is made of like nothing, is made of, let's say, plastic. And obviously, or at least according to this rumor, he's going to be hit really badly. And according to this rumor, they're going to use the Flash and the multiverse as a way to explain how he was recast. I still think that is very, very, you know, in bad taste.
If people, this is to just a general audience who don't follow up with the drama behind the movies, you know, that they would kind of, you know, dismiss it. But to us, we know what happened.
It just in general, like it's very in bad taste.
Yeah, you're right.
And especially since Warner Brothers were claiming that, they were going to figure it out. We're going to fix this entire thing. Apparently.
Oh, they figured it out.
They did.
They're writing him off.
They're writing him off. But I hope that this does not stop his career and he does not basically become blacklisted, and that other actors and actresses within the industry and directors and producers still stay behind him, because he did what a lot of people would not be able to do in many industries, not even in just Hollywood. Hollywood is notorious for all kinds of things happening behind the scenes, and it's just the usual thing that happens in workplaces. And we all know that a lot of people are scared to speak up, and the fact that he spoke up should mean something and should not be blacklisted. And hopefully this is just a rumor, and I hope that it gets enough traction, this rumor, that people will be very upset and angry, and make sure that Ray Fisher gets his actual role.
We wish you all the best, Ray Fisher, in your acting career, and hopefully we get to see you as the continuing Cyborg in the DCEU films. We're going to be taking a bit of a break, but coming up next, we're going to be talking about just the crazy demand for the PS5, and it's left some really bad repercussions because of it. So stay tuned.
This is Pulse 95.
How badly do you want to get your hands on a PlayStation 5?
You know, if you asked me that question a couple of weeks back, I would have said I would do anything for any price to get my hands on one.
Even though you knew that in general, as a rule, you should never buy any console or any electronic device on launch day, or especially the first batch, and also knowing that there is a small batch of consoles, and also knowing that on launch day, there's barely any, titles for the PlayStation 5. You still would have done anything to get them.
True. As a PlayStation fan, I really would have liked to get a day one. I know we discussed the possibility of defective units.
Yeah.
But one thing I didn't anticipate was just the absolute craze that came behind it. As the weeks have went on, anybody who tried to order a PS5 online just could not get their hands on one, because there were just all of these scalpers who were using bot programs to purchase PS5 in bulks, and it would be a matter of seconds before stock would be sold out and nobody would get their hands on it. And I did a buyer beware 2 weeks back saying, guys, if you're going on eBay, you're going on the Bizzle, anywhere that's not an official retail online store, and you're seeing these PS5s being sold for double the price, some of them even going up to 10,000 dirhams, please don't buy into it.
Oh God, never do that, because you're gonna get the console eventually. So why are you paying this much? That is, what is this? Nearly 2 times, if not more. Actually, no, more than 2 times, 5 times.
It's crazy.
The worth of the actual console.
There was one guy who actually bragged on Twitter that he has managed to acquire 3,500 PS5s. He bragged about it. Like, what? That's 3,500. You shouldn't even been having that much. And I think it's even kind of illegal because you're superficially inflating the market price of these products, you know?
Yeah, basically it's making the black market worse. But apparently, obviously a lot of countries, including the UAE, were having all sorts of promotions, such as Black Friday, White Friday, Yellow Friday. One particular man in California in the States waited for 36 hours to get his hands on one PlayStation 5. I recall that on Twitter there was somebody who posted a picture from their local GameStop, and it said that they only had, literally said, we have 2 PlayStation 5s and 5 Xbox Series X's. They're just giving them from the beginning. This is all we have. So if you're lost, khalas, it's gone. So it's like, I really don't understand. Like, again, you're gonna get the console eventually.
Yeah.
Just be patient, just a tiny bit.
Some people can't be patient. They're literally behaving out of impulse, and because of it, there's that huge demand. But I do give just kudos and praise for Tyler Lopez, who waited 36 hours. That's that's some dedication.
In a pandemic.
I wouldn't even do that myself.
In the middle of a pandemic as well. That just makes it even, insane. I'm not going to say it is a bad decision, to be honest. I know that he did get the PlayStation at the end of the day, but it was a very bad decision on his part. And also shout out to eBay for actually putting all kinds of mechanisms to make sure that, fake, or at least, those pranksters on eBay and a lot of those websites like Craigslist as well, who trick you into believing you're buying an item, but instead you're buying another thing because there's a tiny small piece of detail in the description that you miss out on because you're so excited that you found the thing.
Yeah.
For example, sending pictures of the PS5 rather than the actual PS5 console, because you need to fly those things. And also shout out to all those retailers who are actually actively saying that, if you want it from the black market, you need to be patient with us, and also we'll give you at this specific price. It's not in our hands. I actually came across one retailer doing that in the UAE here in Sharjah, and I wanted to give a shout out to him for being very transparent and basically telling people that if you really want the console that badly, you need to pay up the black market price because there's only so much he can do as a retailer. And this chaos is just...
It's not over.
Part of 2020, and it's not over. It's going to continue because according to the CEO of Sony and PlayStation, he says that there are no consoles left, none at all. So you need to wait for the upcoming batch. It's probably going to be coming up around the first quarter of 2021. Coming up next is Obama telling Drake that he can play him in a biopic. I don't know what to say about that. We're going to be talking about that coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
It's almost 5 p.m.
That was Afternoon Karak. For dessert,
Aisha and Mikhail suggest...
Even though it feels like a slow day, this hour really passed on pretty quick, and we've unfortunately reached the final hour here on the Afternoon Karak. But fortunately enough, we always have a final suggestion for you guys, and this time it comes from Aisha herself.
This one is a super important one because I am guilty of doing this a lot. I'm the type of person who, if she goes shopping, especially grocery shopping that is, I would buy everything. Everything new, everything that looks interesting, I will buy it. If it's an interesting looking sauce, I will buy it. I'd say, when we have burgers, I'm going to have it. Even though we have burgers at home like once a month, we rarely make any burgers. But in my head, I'm like, I will need it when we make burgers. I will need it when I make...
I'm at fault as well.
Like, it's a bad habit, but it's a good habit at the same time. But what ends up happening is that I would end up buying a lot of sauces, and a lot of them go expired very quickly, and I forget about it. And I'm not even joking. Sometimes I keep it for an entire year, and I'm like, oh, this condiment is perfectly fine. And I am also the kind of person to be like, to expiry dates, and I still eat it. But sometimes some things have been in the fridge for way too long. Sometimes 6 months is too long. Sometimes a year is too long. Again, it depends on the expiry date and the item itself. So today's suggestion is to clean out your fridge.
This one's actually a really good suggestion because it's almost like a sanitary warning. Like, you don't want to leave your fridge just covered with things that are expired, things that are rotting off, because it not only would it infect that area, it infects everything else.
Exactly.
In the entire fridge. And, you must at least every month or two just go in there and just give it a really thorough scrub and cleaning, because it's just for good hygiene, good sanitation. And more than anything, you probably don't want the health regulatories knocking at your door. I mean, it doesn't happen in houses. It happens in restaurants, but you don't want that happening at your house.
Is your house that bad of a health hazard that somebody's going to call up the authorities?
Let's just say a couple of weeks passed, and one day I rummaged around the fridge, and I'm like, oh, there's that sandwich that I left in there.
Oh, yeah.
It happens.
I'm guilty of that. Like, thank God I don't live alone. Otherwise, I would have left a lot of things. I'm like, I'll get back to it. I'll eat it later. You know, when you order too many things, and they're like, I will have that for dinner. But then you're too full for dinner. Like, I will have that tomorrow's dinner. And then you forget about it.
And there's that one chicken masala leftover just sat there, and it's like, wait, is it supposed to look green?
It's a bit fluffy. Is it breathing a little? It's breathing.
Well, why is it hairy? You know,
basically that. So guys, clean out your fridges, scrub them down, look through all the condiments, all these foods that you've left. Some stuff actually they're still fine. Again, such as condiments, because they have a lot of preservatives. But just open them, give them a quick smell. If you're brave enough, maybe taste it a little bit. Actually, don't taste it. Just smell it. Smell is more than enough.
I like the disclaimer. You're
you know what? Just don't.
Disclaimer.
Just
don't eat this stuff. Don't taste test it.
Don't taste it.
Exactly.
Just smell it. And with that, we end our right here on the Afternoon Karak. Take care, be good, love yourself, love each other, and stay tuned to Yalla Home, Big House, and Anna Schofield taking over only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.